Today, we're diving into something truly transformative, the art of making them obsess over you without lifting a finger. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself giving everything to someone, your time, your energy, your emotions, only to be met with cold indifference? You text them first, you initiate conversations, and yet they drift further away. It's almost like the harder you try, the less they seem to care. It leaves you wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why don't they see my value? The truth is, the more you chase, the less you're valued. But there's a secret, a hidden principle rooted in ancient Stoicism and dark psychology that flips the script entirely. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to make anyone think about you day and night. And here's the kicker. You won't have to lift a finger. All it takes is mastering the power of detachment. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if, instead of chasing others, they were the ones constantly thinking about you, craving your attention. You're no longer anxiously waiting for a text back. Instead, you're focused on living your best life. And as you do, they start to wonder, why can't I get this person out of my mind? Before we dive deep, take a moment to set your intention. Drop a comment below that says, I control my reality, because that's where it all starts, with you reclaiming your power. Now, let's get into it. Section 1. The Power of Detachment. All right, let's start with one of the most powerful concepts in Stoicism, detachment. And let's be clear, detachment isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. No, detachment is about something much deeper, mastering your own emotions and freeing yourself from the need for external validation. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're walking on a beach and you see a rare, beautiful shell half buried in the sand. You're intrigued. It's rare, unique, and slightly out of reach. But if that same shell were scattered all over the beach, easily accessible to everyone, would it still hold the same value? Of course not. You see, it's human nature to desire what's elusive, what we can't fully grasp. And this is where detachment becomes a superpower. You've likely been conditioned to think that the way to win someone's heart is by trying harder, by giving more of yourself, by always being there. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the more you give, the less they value you. In reality, people don't value what's freely given. They value what's scarce, what they have to earn. The wisdom of the Stoics. The ancient Stoics believed that true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a moment. The only thing you can truly control is your mind, your reactions, your inner state. When you understand this, you become free. When you stop trying to control others, when you let go of the need for someone else's validation, that's when you become truly powerful. Let me share a story that illustrates this. Imagine a young man named Alex. Alex was madly in love with a woman named Emily. Every day he would text her, shower her with compliments, and go out of his way to be there for her. But no matter how hard he tried, Emily seemed distant, uninterested. The harder he chased, the more she pulled away. Alex was confused. He thought, if I just try harder, if I just show her how much I care, she'll finally love me back. But the reality was, his desperation was driving her away. Then one day, Alex stumbled upon the teachings of Stoicism. He realized that he was placing all his happiness in someone else's hands. He was giving Emily the power to dictate his worth. So, Alex made a change. He stopped texting her constantly. He stopped always being available. Instead, he turned his attention inward. He focused on his passions, his goals, his own self-growth. And what happened? As soon as Alex stopped chasing, Emily began to notice. She wondered why he wasn't reaching out, why he seemed so distant. The tables had turned. Now, she was the one who was intrigued. And that's when Alex learned the first lesson of detachment. The less you chase, the more they crave. Practical strategies for detachment. Now, let's bring it back to you. How do you harness the power of detachment in your own life? Here are 3 practical strategies you can start using today. Shift your focus. Inward. Instead of obsessing over what someone else is thinking, focus on your own growth. Ask yourself, what can I do today to become a better version of myself? When you focus on your journey, you naturally become less concerned with what others think. Practice the art of letting go. Here's a simple exercise. Close your eyes and imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more the sand slips through your fingers. But when you relax your grip, the sand stays in your palm. The same is true in relationships. The more you try to control, the more you lose. But when you let go, what's meant for you will stay. Reframe your mindset. Instead of thinking, I need them to like me, shift your mindset to, I am complete on my own. True detachment comes from knowing that you are enough, that you are whole, regardless of what anyone else thinks or feels. Take a moment to let that sink in. I want you to remember this. When you're detached, when you're centered in yourself, that's when you become magnetic. That's when people start to chase you, not because you're trying to impress them, but because they can't help but be drawn to your energy. Reflection. Exercise. Here's a quick exercise. Think of a time when you chased someone or something so hard that it slipped away. Reflect on how that made you feel. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine letting go, focusing on yourself, and watching as people start to come to you instead. If you're committed to embracing this mindset, drop a comment below that says, I am unshakable. Let's show the world that we're in control of our own reality. The paradox of detachment. Here's the paradox of detachment. When you stop trying to hold on so tightly, that's when everything starts to fall into place. People are naturally drawn to those who don't need them, who are content in their own company. It's a strange but powerful truth. The less you care, the more they care. So here's my challenge to you. For the next week, practice detachment. Focus on your own goals, your passions, and your self-improvement. Watch as the people who once seemed distant begin to show up in your life again. And remember, this isn't about manipulating others. It's about taking back your power. If you're ready to take on this challenge, hit that like button and drop a comment with, I attract everything I desire. Let's make this a community of people who are no longer chasing, but attracting. Now that we've laid the foundation of detachment, it's time to explore an even deeper concept: indifference and self-mastery. Section 2. Embrace indifference and self-mastery. Now that we've explored the power of detachment, it's time to take things to the next level. If detachment is about stepping back, then indifference is about staying completely unbothered by the noise around you. But make no mistake, this isn't about pretending not to care. It's about being so deeply centered in yourself that other people's opinions, actions, or validation no longer sway you. So, what exactly is indifference? It's not about being cold or heartless. Indifference is about being so rooted in your own value that you no longer seek external approval. It's about knowing, deep down, that you are enough, regardless of how others treat you. And when you master this mindset, you become incredibly attractive because people are naturally drawn to those who are at peace with themselves. The Stoic philosophy of indifference. The ancient Stoics were masters of this mindset. They believed that peace and happiness come from within, not from chasing after the fleeting approval of others. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you truly embrace indifference, you stop reacting emotionally to every little thing that happens. You become calm, collected, and unshakable. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a crowded room. Everyone around you is desperately seeking attention, trying to be louder, funnier, or more interesting than the next person. But you're just there, quietly confident, observing everything, reacting to nothing. This is what makes you stand out. In a world full of people trying to prove themselves, the person who needs no one's validation is the one who gets noticed. Let's put this into a practical context. Picture someone you've been interested in. You've tried everything to get their attention, texts, compliments, and even bending over backward to be available for them. But somehow, they seem to take you for granted. Now, imagine flipping that script. Instead of chasing, you become indifferent. You stop initiating, stop over-explaining yourself, and stop trying to please them. What happens? Suddenly, they notice your absence. They start to wonder what's changed. Your indifference creates a void, a space they feel compelled to fill. Dark psychology. Insight, the power of indifference. There's a principle in dark psychology known as the law of indifference. It states that people are most attracted to those who are indifferent to them. When you stop caring about someone's validation, it creates a psychological tension that draws them in. You see, most people are used to being chased, to having others seek their approval. But when you show indifference, it breaks the pattern. It creates curiosity and eventually obsession. Let me share another story. There was a woman named Sarah who was constantly chasing after her boyfriend's approval. She was always available, always the first to text, and would change her plans just to spend time with him. But no matter what she did, he seemed distant and uninterested. Then one day, Sarah had enough. She decided to embrace indifference. She stopped texting him first, started focusing on her own hobbies, and even went out with her friends more. At first, he didn't notice. But then, as Sarah became less available, he started to chase her. He was confused. Where was the woman who was always at his beck and call? That's when Sarah realized the secret. When you stop needing someone, that's when they start needing you. Stoic principle. Focus on what you can control. Let's take a moment to connect this back to Stoic philosophy. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the idea of focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. The Stoics believed that most of our suffering comes from trying to control things that are beyond our power, like other people's feelings, actions, or opinions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you embrace indifference, you're doing exactly that. You're taking back your power. You're saying, "I will no longer allow someone else's behavior to dictate my happiness." Practical tips to cultivate indifference. Now that we've covered the theory, let's get into some practical steps you can start applying today. Stop seeking validation. The first step to mastering indifference is to stop seeking validation from others. This means no more fishing for compliments, no more obsessively checking if they've seen your text, and definitely no more bending over backward to get their approval. Instead, give yourself the validation you seek. Remind yourself every day, I am enough as I am. Embrace silence and mystery. People are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. If you're always an open book, there's nothing left for others to discover. Start practicing the art of silence. Be a little more mysterious. Don't always explain yourself. Let others wonder about you. This creates intrigue and makes them think about you more. Focus on self-mastery. The best way to cultivate indifference is to shift your focus entirely onto yourself. Invest in your hobbies, pursue your passions, and prioritize your goals. When you're genuinely absorbed in your own life, you won't have time to obsess over someone else's opinion of you. And ironically, that's when they'll start paying attention. Create boundaries. When you embrace indifference, you also embrace the power of saying no. Stop being a people pleaser. If someone treats you poorly or doesn't value your time, walk away without a second thought. Your time and energy are precious. Give them only to those who deserve it. If you're ready to commit to embracing indifference, drop a comment below with, I am my own validation. Let's affirm together that we no longer rely on anyone else for our sense of worth. Reflection exercise. I want you to try something this week. Think of a person whose opinion you've been chasing, whether it's a romantic interest, a friend, or even a family member. Now, make a conscious decision to stop seeking their approval. Instead, focus on doing something that brings you joy, something that's entirely for you. Whether it's working out, learning a new skill, or simply taking time for yourself, do it without thinking about how they'll perceive it. And then watch what happens. You may be surprised at how they start to gravitate back towards you. The paradox of indifference. Here's the ultimate paradox. The moment you truly stop caring about whether they like you, that's when they start to care. When you're no longer emotionally invested in their opinion, you become more attractive, more magnetic. Why? Because you're no longer a source of emotional neediness. Instead, you've become a source of inner peace, and that's something everyone craves. So, here's my challenge for you. For the next 7 days, practice radical indifference. Stop chasing, stop trying to impress, and stop seeking validation. Focus entirely on your own life, your own passions. And if you're ready to take on this challenge, hit that like button and drop a comment with, I am my own priority. Let's create a community of people who are no longer chasing, but attracting effortlessly. In our next section, we're going to dive even deeper into the psychology of unpredictability and how it can keep them hooked. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thank you for staying with me this far. If you're finding value in these insights, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Blessing and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to upgrade your mindset. Section 3. The Law of Unpredictability. Now that you've begun to master the art of detachment and embrace the power of indifference, it's time to delve into a concept that will take things to an entirely new level, the law of unpredictability. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how people are irresistibly drawn to those who are a bit unpredictable? The ones who keep you guessing, who are never quite the same each time you meet them. It's not a coincidence. It's human nature. We are wired to crave what we can't fully understand. And when you master the art of being unpredictable, you become that enigma that others can't help but obsess over. Psychology of unpredictability. Let's break this down from a psychological perspective. In psychology, there's something known as intermittent reinforcement. It's one of the most powerful ways to condition someone's behavior. This principle was first discovered in studies with animals. where researchers found that unpredictable rewards made subjects far more engaged than predictable ones. For example, a rat would press a lever more frequently if the reward came at random intervals than if it came at predictable times. The same principle applies to human relationships. Think about a slot machine at a casino. The reason people get addicted to it isn't that they win every time. In fact, the wins are rare and unpredictable. But it's that very unpredictability that keeps people hooked, pulling that lever again and again, hoping for the next big win. Now, let's translate this concept into your personal life. If you're always predictable, always available, and always responding in the same way, you become boring. People know what to expect from you, and that predictability kills intrigue. But when you're unpredictable, when you switch things up, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, you become like that slot machine. People can't help but keep coming back for more, hoping for that moment when you show them attention. The Stoic twist: mastering self-control. Now, you might be thinking, how does unpredictability align with Stoic principles? Isn't Stoicism all about consistency and self-discipline? Yes, it is. But here's the key. The unpredictability we're talking about here isn't about being erratic or unstable. It's about mastering yourself so fully that you can choose when to be warm and when to be distant, without letting your emotions dictate your behavior. The Stoic philosophers were masters of self-control. They believed in being steady and unmoved by the chaos around them. But they also understood the art of strategy. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, knew when to be merciful and when to be ruthless. It was this balance that made him so effective. He was predictable in his principles, but unpredictable in his tactics. And that's the key to making this work in your relationships. Be consistent in your values, but unpredictable in your approach. Practical tips to embrace unpredictability. Now, let's get practical. How can you start using the law of unpredictability in your own life to make others think about you constantly? Here are some powerful techniques. Don't always be available. This is the simplest yet most powerful way to create unpredictability. If you're always quick to respond to texts, always the first to initiate plans, you become predictable. Instead, sometimes take your time to respond. Occasionally, be the one who is too busy to meet up. Let them wonder what you're up to. Vary your communication style. Sometimes be warm and engaging. Other times, be more reserved and distant. For example, if you usually send long, enthusiastic texts, try sending a short, to-the-point message next time. Or, if you're usually reserved, surprise them with a compliment or a heartfelt note. Keep them guessing about which version of you they'll get. Be unpredictable with your affection. Imagine you're in a relationship where you're always affectionate, always giving compliments, always doing little favors. At first it's sweet, but eventually it becomes expected and therefore less valuable. Instead, mix it up. Be affectionate and loving on some days, but then pull back slightly on others. This keeps them on their toes, wondering, why isn't today like yesterday? Surprise them with spontaneity. Plan something unexpected, like a spontaneous date or an unplanned adventure. Or if you're usually someone who makes all the plans, let them take the lead for a change. Being unpredictable doesn't mean you have to be cold. It's about keeping things fresh and exciting. If you're ready to embrace unpredictability and keep people hooked, comment below with, "I am a mystery." Let's show the world that we're committed to being the most intriguing version of ourselves. Dark psychology. Insight, the push-pull technique. Let's go even deeper into the psychology of unpredictability with a technique known as the push-pull method. This is one of the most effective strategies in dark psychology for making someone think about you constantly. It's simple, yet powerful. Sometimes you push them away, other times you pull them closer. The key is to keep them guessing. Here's how it works. Let's say you've been talking to someone for a while and things are going well. You're giving them attention, making them feel special. But then, suddenly, you pull back. You're not as available, you take longer to respond, you seem less interested. This creates a gap, a space where they start to feel like they're losing you. And just when they're starting to get worried, you pull them back in with a sweet text, a compliment, or an unexpected call. Why does this work? Because people fear loss more than they value gain. When you push them away, it triggers a fear of losing your attention, and that fear makes them crave it even more. But then, when you give them a taste of affection again, it feels even sweeter. It's the emotional roller coaster that keeps them hooked. Stoic principle, the calm amidst chaos. Now you might be wondering, doesn't this sound manipulative? Here's the thing. When you're using the push-pull technique, it's not about playing games. It's about mastering yourself so that you're not constantly giving away your energy to others. The Stoics believed in being steady and unmoved by external forces. By being unpredictable, you're not being erratic. You're simply choosing to be strategic with your energy. You're deciding when to give and when to pull back, based on what serves you best. Reflection. Exercise. Here's a challenge for you. For the next week, I want you to practice being unpredictable in your interactions. If you're always the one initiating conversations, step back and let them come to you. If you're usually reserved, surprise someone with a kind gesture. Notice how people react when they can't predict your next move. And if you're ready to embrace this challenge, drop a comment below that says, "I am unpredictable." The art of strategic mystery. Here's the paradox. The more mysterious and unpredictable you are, the more people want to be around you. But remember, this isn't about manipulating others. It's about freeing yourself from the need to be constantly predictable. When you stop being an open book, people can't help but want to turn the pages to see what's next. So, here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, practice being unpredictable. Change up your routine, be spontaneous, and see how people around you start to react differently. And if you're finding value in these strategies, hit that like button and drop a comment with "I am a mystery." Let's create a community of people who are unafraid to embrace their inner power. Next up, we're going to explore the fear of loss principle and how triggering this can make them desperately seek your attention. Section 4. Triggering the fear of loss. Now that you've mastered detachment, embraced indifference, and harnessed the power of unpredictability, it's time to explore one of the most potent psychological triggers, the fear of loss. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how people only seem to realize your value when you start to pull away? It's almost like they didn't care about your presence until the threat of your absence became real. That, my friends, is the power of triggering the fear of loss. But let's be clear here. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. This is about understanding a fundamental truth of human nature. People don't value what's always there. They value what they believe they might lose. And when you understand how to use this principle wisely, you can shift the dynamics of any relationship in your favor. Psychology. Insight. The loss aversion principle. Let's break this down from a psychological perspective. In behavioral economics, there's a concept known as loss aversion. It's been proven that humans are twice as motivated by the fear of losing something as they are by the prospect of gaining something of equal value. In simple terms, the pain of loss is psychologically more intense than the pleasure of gain. Think about it. You're more likely to panic about losing $100 than you are to get excited about finding $100. The same principle applies to relationships. When people feel like they might be losing your attention, your affection, or your presence, it creates a sense of urgency and desire that wasn't there before. Imagine you're in a romantic relationship. Things have become comfortable, maybe even a bit predictable. You're always available, always accommodating, and always showing your affection. Over time, your partner might start to take you for granted. But what happens if you suddenly become less available? You pull back, focus on your own life, and make yourself a little more scarce. Almost immediately, your partner starts to wonder, what's going on? Have I done something wrong? Are they losing interest? That's the fear of loss in action. When you create the perception that someone might be losing you, they will fight to keep you. It's human nature to cling to what we feel slipping away. Stoic wisdom, knowing your worth. Now, you might be thinking, isn't it manipulative to use the fear of loss to get someone's attention? The answer is no, not if you approach it the right way. The Stoics would argue that this isn't about manipulation. It's about knowing your worth and setting healthy boundaries. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, if someone isn't valuing you, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to be so focused on your own growth, your own path, that they either step up or they step out of your life. The fear of loss is not something you use to control others. It's a natural consequence of you reclaiming your power. Practical tips to trigger the fear of loss. So, how can you trigger the fear of loss in a way that's healthy and aligned with your values? Here are some practical strategies you can start using today. Create distance. Without explanation, one of the most effective ways to create the fear of loss is to pull back slightly without giving a reason. If you're always available, always the first to text, suddenly become a little more distant. Don't explain yourself. Let them wonder. This creates a gap that they feel compelled to close. Focus on self-growth. There's nothing more attractive than someone who is deeply invested in their own life. When you're constantly leveling up, whether it's in your career, fitness, or personal passions, you naturally become more valuable. People will fear losing someone who is continuously growing and evolving. Focus on becoming so good that they can't ignore you. Be unpredictable in your availability. If you're someone who always answers calls or texts immediately, try pulling back. Let them experience what life is like without your constant presence. When you finally do respond, it will feel like a reward, not an obligation. Subtly withdraw your affection. If you've been overly affectionate, showering them with compliments and always making them feel special, try withdrawing that attention slightly. Don't be cold, but be less generous with your praise. This subtle shift will make them crave the warmth they've become accustomed to. If you're ready to reclaim your power and stop being taken for granted, drop a comment below that says, "I know my worth." Let's affirm together that we are no longer chasing anyone's approval. Dark psychology. Insight. The fear of missing out, FOMO. Let's take this a step further with a concept that's become almost universal in today's world: FOMO, or the fear of missing out. This psychological trigger is used everywhere, from social media platforms to marketing campaigns, because it's incredibly effective. People hate the idea of missing out on something valuable, something exclusive. Now, imagine applying this principle to your personal relationships. You've been giving someone your time and attention freely. But what happens if you pull back just slightly and become more focused on your own life? Suddenly, they start to realize they might be missing out on the incredible person you're becoming. They don't want to be left behind. This isn't about making someone feel insecure. It's about showing them that you have a life of your own, one that's fulfilling with or without them. And trust me, nothing makes someone more interested in you than seeing that you're perfectly happy on your own. Real life story: the power of absence. Let me share a quick story to illustrate this. There was a man named David who was in a long-term relationship. Things were good, but he noticed his partner was starting to take him for granted. He was always there, always available, always accommodating. One day, David decided to try something different. He pulled back slightly. Instead of always being the one to plan dates, he focused on his own hobbies, started going to the gym, and even joined a new social club. At first, his partner didn't seem to notice, but over time, she began to feel his absence. She started reaching out more, asking about his day, and planning dates herself. What changed? David triggered the fear of loss, not by playing games, but by genuinely investing in himself. Stoic principle: indifference to external opinions. Here's the Stoic truth: when you stop needing someone, that's when they start needing you. The Stoics taught that your happiness should never depend on someone else's actions or feelings. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." When you want less from others, when you become indifferent to their validation, they will start to crave your presence. Reflection. Exercise. I want you to try this exercise. For the next week, make a conscious effort to pull back slightly from someone who's been taking you for granted. Don't be rude or cold. Just focus more on yourself. Invest time in your hobbies, your passions, and your personal growth. And pay attention to how they start to respond. If they start reaching out more, it's because they're starting to feel that fear of loss. If you're ready to try this, drop a comment below that says, "I am my own priority." Let's create a community of people who are no longer afraid to put themselves first. The power of self-priority. Here's the ultimate takeaway. The fear of loss works because it forces people to reevaluate what they stand to lose. But remember, this isn't about manipulation. It's about showing others that your time, energy, and presence are valuable. When you prioritize yourself, others will naturally begin to prioritize you as well. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 7 days, practice prioritizing yourself. Don't chase anyone. Focus on your own growth, your own happiness, and watch as the world begins to chase you. In the next section, we'll explore the final and most powerful principle, the art of self-fulfillment. How becoming genuinely fulfilled on your own can make you irresistible to others. If you're finding value in this journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, and turn on notifications so you never miss another lesson on mastering yourself and attracting effortlessly. Section 5. The Art of Self-Fulfillment. We've explored the power of detachment, embraced indifference, harnessed unpredictability, and leveraged the fear of loss. Now, we come to the most powerful principle of all, self-fulfillment. Let me start with a question. What if the secret to making others obsess over you isn't about anything you do for them? What if it's about the life you build for yourself? Imagine being so content, so fulfilled, that people are drawn to you not because you need them, but because your energy is so magnetic, they can't help but want to be around you. That's the art of self-fulfillment, the true meaning of self-fulfillment. Self-fulfillment is about reaching a state where you are genuinely happy on your own. It's about creating a life that is so rich, so satisfying, that you no longer need anyone to complete you. This doesn't mean you're closed off to love or relationships. It means you're not dependent on them for your happiness. And here's the paradox. The moment you reach this state, that's when people start to crave your presence. Think about it. We are naturally attracted to people who radiate confidence, joy, and self-assurance. People who don't need validation from others because they've already given it to themselves. They're not chasing, they're attracting. They're not seeking, they're inviting. Stoic wisdom, cultivating inner peace. The Stoics understood this principle well. They believed that true happiness comes not from external circumstances, but from within. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoic idea of eudaimonia, or flourishing, is about living a life in harmony with your highest values and principles. When you're aligned with your true self, you're unshakable. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This is the essence of self-fulfillment. It's about realizing that everything you need to be happy is already within you. When you reach this level of inner peace, others can't help but be drawn to your aura. The magnetic power of self-fulfillment. There's a psychological concept known as the halo effect. It's a cognitive bias where people tend to assume that if someone is good in one area, they must be good in other areas as well. When you're genuinely fulfilled and happy, people will naturally assume that you're also successful, confident, and worthy of their attention. Your energy becomes magnetic. Here's the thing. People are naturally attracted to those who don't need them. When you're so content in your own life, it sends a powerful message. I am complete on my own, but I welcome you if you want to join me. This mindset shift changes everything. Instead of chasing people, you're inviting them into your already amazing life. Practical tips to cultivate self-fulfillment. Now, let's get practical. How do you reach this state of self-fulfillment? How can you become someone who radiates such positive energy that people can't help but be drawn to you? Here are some strategies you can start using today. Invest in your passions. One of the best ways to cultivate self-fulfillment is to dive deep into your passions, whether it's art, music, fitness, travel, or learning a new skill. Find something that lights you up and pour your energy into it. When you're truly passionate about something, it shows, and people are naturally drawn to that enthusiasm. Create a morning routine focused on self-growth. Start each day with intention. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, reading, or exercise, dedicate the first hour of your day to activities that nurture your mind and body. This sets the tone for the rest of your day and helps you stay centered. Surround yourself with positive energy. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to become fulfilled and magnetic, surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and lift you up. Distance yourself from those who drain your energy, or bring negativity into your life. Practice gratitude daily. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your mindset and elevate your energy. Every morning or before you go to bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It can be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee or the feeling of sunlight on your face. This practice helps you focus on the abundance in your life rather than what's lacking. Prioritize self-care. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for taking care of. This means eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep, and taking time to relax and recharge. When you feel good physically, it translates into emotional well-being. If you're ready to focus on yourself and commit to becoming the best version of you, drop a comment below with "I am complete on my own." Let's affirm together that we are no longer looking for others to fulfill us. We are fulfilling ourselves. Dark psychology. Insight. The law of scarcity. Let's take a moment to explore a powerful psychological concept known as the law of scarcity. This principle states that people value what is rare or hard to obtain. When you are genuinely fulfilled and busy living your best life, you automatically become scarce. Your time, attention, and energy are no longer freely given. They must be earned. Imagine being so busy chasing your own dreams that you don't have time to chase anyone else. When people see that you're hard to get, that your life is full and satisfying, they will go out of their way to be a part of it. This isn't about pretending to be busy or playing hard to get. It's about genuinely living a life that is so rich that others can't help but want to join you. The Stoic reflection. Finding joy in simplicity. The Stoics believed that happiness is not found in excess, but in simplicity. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." By focusing on what truly matters, your passions, your personal growth, your inner peace, you can find fulfillment in the simplest things. So, here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, focus entirely on yourself. Stop seeking validation from others. Pour your energy into your passions, your goals, and your own happiness. Watch as people begin to notice the shift in your energy. They will be drawn to you, not because you're chasing them, but because you've become the person they want to be around. Reflection. Exercise. I want you to try this. For 1 week, commit to doing something every day that brings you joy, something that is entirely for you. It could be as simple as reading a book, going for a walk, or working on a passion project. And while you're doing it, remind yourself, I am enough. If you're ready to take on this challenge, drop a comment below that says, I am fulfilled. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this journey, remember, the ultimate secret to making others obsess over you isn't about playing games or trying to control anyone else. It's about mastering yourself, becoming fulfilled, and living a life that's so rich, so joyful, that others can't help but want to be a part of it. Comment, I am in control of my destiny, and I attract everything I desire. Let's show the world that we are a community committed to growth, self-mastery, and living our best lives. If you found value in this video, hit that like button, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to elevate your mindset. Let's keep growing together.